Welcome to another episode of Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great. I'm joined by my brother from another MB. We got a lot to talk about with y'all, man. It's been 2 weeks since we've recorded, so we'll try to hit a couple of different topics and still stay within our hour range. So, in light of that, we're gonna jump right in with Spaghetti Junction.
We got traffic incoming, covering all the biggest news in ATL sports, no matter the lane, no matter the highway. Let's get into it with Spaghetti Junction.
Kicking us off, we're gonna have a little recap of college football. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my alma mater. We were on bye this week, thank goodness, after the beating that Vanderbilt laid down the last week we played. 70 points is a lot to give up in a football game. Still go Panthers, but go Dogs and go Busts. and Jackets.
What do they say? Sting 'em? I don't know.
Rambling Wreck. Ramble Wreck.
Big weekend for college football. We're in week 4, week 5? Maybe week 6. I don't know. But we're well on our way, so we're finally getting to some big time matchups. Georgia's already had one against Tennessee. Some of your big schools, they kind of hit the ball running out the gate with some big matchups, but all in all, every team has played at least 2 tune-up games by now. So now we're getting to the meat of the schedules where some serious competition is happening each and every weekend. Big one happened this past weekend up in State College in Pennsylvania against Penn State against Oregon. Oregon ended up winning in double overtime. FSU played Virginia on Friday and were upset in double overtime. So there's been a trend in some overtime games this season, which has been quite interesting, quite entertaining. But some other key matchups more relevant to our local Georgia taking on Alabama. Georgia ends up losing at home, basically killing their 30-plus game home win streak. It was Kirby's first loss at night in Sanford Stadium. So a few big records going down. All in all, Kirby is 108-20 as the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. And of those 20 losses, 7 of them now are at the hands of the Alabama Crimson Tide. It was a good game. Lots of opportunities were missed. Some of the notable decisions that the local media have been talking about all day long was a key 4th down decision in which Kirby decided to go for it instead of taking the 3 points and tying it late. We end up getting stopped, and kind of the rest is history. So.
Can we pause there for a second?
Yes.
Because there were a couple of items that you dropped there. Number one, the 108-20. For those who don't do math quickly, 84% win, 84% winning percentage. That's nuts. But then to have 7 of the 20 be to Alabama, 35%. And I'm not sure, thinking about how many other teams they play, 35% of his losses are to Alabama. That is the monkiest of monkeys, man. What do you think that is, bro? How does he get past that? Obviously, he's still an all-time great coach because of his record. He's got 2 natties. But being 1-7 against not even your alma mater, he coached there. I think that's where he got his coaching start, right under Nick Saban. Is that correct?
That was not his coaching start. He actually started as a graduate assistant at UGA and then went to Valdosta.
Mm.
Made his way to Alabama, but that was the biggest chunk of his career outside of Athens. It was in Tuscaloosa. So I'm gonna read you a text from one of our followers, one of my boys, Lee Wofford. His response was, feeling like Kirby made a deal to not beat Bama after he left. National championship notwithstanding.
I mean, the numbers agree with Lee. Shout out Lee.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dog. To be an 85, we're gonna round up, 85% game winner, and to lose so many games, almost all of your games. One win against Alabama is crazy.
Yeah.
1 in 8 shots.
I will say this is the second time it's been a Kellen DeBoer coach team, which is a little bit more disheartening because you kind of get it when it's Saban. It's like the sensei versus the protege and the master, constantly winning. But now it's Kellen DeBoer. It's a completely different regime. And to me, there's really no excuse for Georgia to lose these games. Close
they haven't
games.
looked like the Alabama of old, right?
They have not.
Outside of when they played Georgia.
And to be fair, the last 2 seasons, this one included, Georgia does not look like the Georgia of old either, especially on the defensive side of the ball. NIL has changed a lot. For all the criticism that, I have on NIL and the way that it is, playing itself out in real time, there are some good things for the sport that have come out of it, and that has been the parity, right? Like I mentioned, a lot of overtime games this weekend, tight games. Georgia Tech, I'm going to get to them. They won in overtime against Wake Forest, a team that they should have beat handedly, right? And honestly, it took some poor officiating to even allow them the opportunity to stay in that game. And that's not to slight Georgia Tech because they overcame a 17-point deficit, but there was a crucial third down where Georgia Tech was clearly offsides and it was not flagged, and it would have resulted in a first down, and Wake Forest would have been able to kill the clock. Instead, they end up punting. Georgia Tech gets the ball. They have a fantastic kicker, as we saw at the end of the Clemson game 2 weeks ago. They get in field goal range, kick a field goal to end regulation. In overtime, Wake Forest took the opportunity to win by going for 2 after scoring the touchdown instead of taking the field goal to tie and go to a second overtime, and they failed the 2-point conversion to win, to lose. So that was kind of
Georgia Tech was up.
So Georgia Tech got the ball first.
Okay, yeah.
In overtime, scored. Wake Forest answered, scored, but instead of kicking the field goal, they went for the win, went for the 2-point conversion, and failed. I will say as well in that game, Robbie Ashford, who was absolutely cooking Georgia Tech early on, got pulled out of the game like right before halftime with like an ankle. It looked like an ankle injury when it happened, but he came out with a knee brace on. But he didn't play again until like mid to late third quarter. And that was when...
Who was that?
Robbie Ashford. He was the quarterback for Wake Forest. Gotcha. But he was playing really well. He was what propelled Wake Forest to a 17-point lead. He goes out of the game. Georgia Tech comes back, is what happened. He comes back into the game. Wake Forest offense starts moving the ball again. And then you have the unfortunate missed, offsides call that leads to Georgia Tech tying the game, sending it to overtime, and getting the win. At the end of the day, the W in the record column is all that matters.
I noticed that you said the unfortunate missed call. It was like you want them to lose, man. What's that about?
Go Dogs.
All right, continue. My bad.
But yeah, so that kind of went down. But what I was saying is NIL has created parity in the league. It's shown itself hand over fist in the games that happened this weekend. So the Georgia team it doesn't look the same. It's not the same level of dominance that it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those guys are in the league and continuing to dominate on both sides of the ball, right?
Yeah.
With Jordan Davis had a 65-yard. That's a big man running that far.
They GPS'd him at 20 miles an hour, returning that
nuts, bro.
Blocked kick.
Yeah, him. Obviously, Jalen Carter is a force, top 5, maybe higher than that defensive tackle in the league. Then on the other side, you got Lad McConkey doing his thing. You got who's my tight end? Your tight end,
Brock Bowers. I think the one that people don't talk enough about is James Cook. He was a part of that.
Wait, was he? The running back?
He was a part of that first national championship team.
Dang, I didn't know that because he's balling in the league.
And he balled at Georgia, but he split the backfield with a few others, so he didn't get as much shine individually, but he's getting it now.
Hell yeah. I mean, he's a big reason, not the biggest. Josh Allen is a dog, not the dog we're talking about now, but he's a beast. James Cook is a huge reason for their success, the Bills.
And then the other one that's really balling is George Pickens.
Oh, yeah. I forgot George was on that team. Mr. Crash Out.
He's a character. He's
he balled out last night, though.
But he's balling. And then one that didn't finish his career at Georgia, finished at Texas. He had a very unfortunate day yesterday. Was in the headlines for the wrong reasons, but that's A.D. Mitchell. He was a dog.
I didn't hear about what happened with
all right, we're gonna get a little long in the tooth on this segment, but he catches a contested ball, makes a huge effort, breaks away, gets down the sidelines, big touchdown, right? But as he's getting to the goal line, he moves the ball in his hand to reach it out to cross over the plane and loses control of the ball, goes out the back of the end zone for a touchback.
No. That happened before he crossed the goal line. He kicked it out.
Yeah. So he's transferring hands, going to reach it out, and the ball just comes out of his hands before it crosses the plane and goes out the back of the end zone.
Who does he play for?
The Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, and they lost. A close game, I feel like.
I don't know what the score was, but Dogs lose a heartbreaker in Athens at night to Alabama. It feels like we can never beat that team. So
that just circles back to Lee's point as far as it being Kellen DeBoer, right? Alabama, they've lost to Vanderbilt last year. They lost to Florida State this year. They don't look good. They don't look like the Alabama of old, so they're not supposed to be.
They're still a good team, but it's the same thing that I said about Georgia. They're just not as dominant, right? They're people, whether it's through the portal or, recruiting out of high school, schools being able to offer, some coin. Not every 5-star recruit is going to Tennessee or just to Georgia and Alabama. They're spreading amongst themselves. And the ones that do come don't necessarily stay. Georgia, there's sprinkles of Georgia players all over the country. One of them, E.J. Lightsey's been doing his thing at linebacker for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So it's just the way it is. Yep.
No, but would you agree that Alabama's beats have been better than Georgia's beats, right?
100%.
Georgia lost to Alabama or a ranked opponent. They're not losing to
Yeah, no. Last year we lost,
even if it looked bad, right?
Last year it was Alabama at the end of the game in a heartbreaker. It was a bad game at Ole Miss, but Ole Miss was a top team. They were fringe playoff, and then to Notre Dame in the playoffs after Carson Beck went down with a UCL injury in the SEC title game. So, yeah, no, their losses have been against quality opponents, whereas Alabama has lost some questionable ones under Kellen DeBoer. That being said, Vanderbilt is 5-0 right now, and they head to Tuscaloosa next Saturday. So we'll see if Bama gets some redemption for the loss last year, or if Vanderbilt continues its dominance.
I mean, we beat Vanderbilt last year after they beat Alabama, so we basically beat Alabama. Vanderbilt beats us. We're out of the equation. There's no way I can get a win there, so I'm less involved. But maybe an Alabama win would feel, or Alabama loss would feel pretty good, considering that they dropped 70. Yeah,
it's
I'm
in
not going to say
Tuscaloosa.
it, but maybe Alabama can beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah, it being in Tuscaloosa, I don't have a whole lot of faith in or confidence in Vanderbilt getting it done, but we'll see. Diego Pavia is like 85 years old. He's been in college for a century now. So
Japanese names on you, boy. I don't know who he is.
He's the quarterback. Yeah.
Okay. I'm always assume quarterback.
He made headlines, so he's bounced around. He ended up at Vanderbilt from, I believe it was New Mexico State. But he landed at Vanderbilt last year through the transfer portal. Obviously had a great year, Vanderbilt standards, and he petitioned to have his junior college years not count towards his eligibility. And he won in court. So now you can go to junior college, play football, and it not count against your eligibility. So that's the only reason why he's able to play this year.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
I'm sure you open up an opportunity for people in the future.
And for him, he's likely not NFL bound. If he is, it's in a backup role, which would be a fantastic job. But he's maximizing his earnings potential while it's at its highest. So kudos to him.
Yeah. Shout out that bag maneuver.
Yeah.
All right. You got any more college football notes?
I did not expect to talk college football for 23 minutes. So no.
All right. We wanted to talk some hoops real quick, man. I sent you a clip. We won't talk about it a whole lot, but it was just hilarious. Anybody who hasn't heard of Tea Time, go look it up. It's Winnie the Pooh playing basketball, but it's on 2K, basically. No pants, no draws, just a Jeff Teague jersey. I'm ready for basketball to start, man. I know Trey is ready to shove Pat Beverly's words down his throat. Trey actually got the Falcons going, man. That's something so Pat Beverly versus Atlanta is a real thing. And even KD has stepped into the chat and said that Pat Bev is looking delusional, which I agree.
He's looking angry.
Oh, he's always been angry. That's not new.
The funny thing, though, is he tries to play off.
Patty Bev.
He tries to play it off, at least in one of those, like, I don't care. Da, da, da. I'm like, dude, you are big mad right now about this. So don't even try to tell me you don't care. Trey struck a chord, and you didn't like it.
He struck a chord. We'll tell people what that chord was briefly. So Pat Beverly made a comment about an open gym run with some pros in it. It was really a comment about the All-Star game and how the pros don't really put in that much effort, but they put in a lot of effort into open gym runs. And Trey, who is an All-Star, Patrick Beverly is not, said, hey, let us speak for ourselves. Relax. That relax word is triggering to a lot of people. I had a boss, man. She was triggered by relax. So I used to kind of I used to throw it in there just to mess with her. But that just spun out of control, right? From there, Trey responded. He put some numbers into on the table that really set the standard. And then Pat has then come back and said, "Nah, prove me wrong. I hope I motivate you. You don't win, and until you do, I'm gonna be able to say what I want to say, and you can't talk to me about it." Then the rest of Atlanta jumped in. Right? All the social medias jumped in and started posting Pat Bev compilations of being cooked by Trey. The Hawks did it, the Braves did it, and the Falcons all did it. It was poetic that Trey pulled the horn at the Falcons game this Sunday, just to show that Atlanta unity, man. So I'm excited for basketball.
I will say
we got to shut Pat Bev up, man.
I thought it was interesting because Pat Bev's entire argument was, "Oh, well, I've been to the playoffs, you know, 7 times out of my 9-year career. I don't know the actual numbers, but been to the playoffs and won in the playoffs, but never won a championship. But he's been to the playoffs more times than Trey, and so that was his rationale for having some authority in the conversation. And Trey's like, "Look, I've achieved this, this, and this. What have you done, like, other than being on a team carried by other people?"
That was the point I was about to say.
And so that even it hit harder, and Pat even came back even madder and just started making personal attacks at Trey's character. People don't want to play with him. Every coach he plays for gets fired. Like, just feeding into that nonsense narrative. So I thought the whole thing was wild, especially because like, it never should have been taken there. But
Yeah.
B, Pat has no leg to stand on in the argument.
Yeah, he's definitely a stalwart defensive player. I actually like Patrick Beverley. I think he would have made a good addition to the Hawks at one point.
Not now.
But, hell no. I also, truth be told, I love a good beef, So this has been entertaining for me. But that said, I agree that if Trae Young stopped playing basketball today, I think his career was more successful than Patrick Beverley's.
For sure.
That just kind of is what it is.
I mean, Pat makes a claim. I don't remember it word for word, but he said something about how people will forget about you if you don't win. I'm like, Pat, people are gonna start forgetting about you real soon.
Right. Podcast versus podcast. That's how he's staying relevant. Like, I'll always remember Patrick Beverley as an NBA player during that era, but these new NBA fans aren't gonna remember Patrick Beverley as anything more than like a podcaster, because he is good at that. Even his comeback to because then after Atlanta posted compilations, he had another comment where he's like, and at that point it was all bets are off. He started he bet against all the teams. It was the weekend that we played the Panthers. It's coming up. The Dream got ousted in such Atlanta fashion. And then the Braves lost as well. But the Braves went on to do a 10-game win streak out of that. So maybe we'll talk about that too. But it was great entertainment, man. Beef is good. As long as it's, not hate. You can be hating, right? You can be a hater and be, but like genuine hate, like, wishing death and all this other stuff. We'll stay away from that. Quickly on the Dream, they had a successful season. They lost in very Atlanta fashion, being up by 5 with like a minute and a half to go, and to lose on a wide open layup at the buzzer. It's just like,
at home.
You had to be Atlanta at home in a game, basically a game 7, but That was a tough beat, man. Sellout crowd. But it was still a successful season. I think if they can replicate some of that success, maybe draft well, they should be back.
Yeah.
We'll see how they do. All right, that's enough of this non-football stuff. Well, this non-Falcon stuff, man. Let's go to hoo.
From the gridiron to the hardwood, you know you got to keep your eyes on the birds. Let's talk Hawks. Let's talk Falcons. This is hooty hoo.
So, we did not play, or we did not record after the Panthers loss. I don't know if we just needed a week of mourning or to get ourselves together. It was more of a scheduling thing, in all honesty, but it was good that we didn't, because I think we can come here with clearer minds and more joyful hearts after a Washington Commanders victory. But we did lose 30-0. We can't ignore that fact. So we went into Charlotte and we got the brakes beat off of us. We did not get inside the 30-yard line on any possession. There's been a lot of talk about the play call. I know you don't want to talk about the pew-pews, the pistol formation, football formation, not actual pistols. But it was a bad look. And people were up in arms, myself included, about how bad that was. So from there, we transitioned to the Washington game. And before that, there were some changes, right? So Zach Robinson, Z-Rob, our offensive coordinator, there was a decision made. He said he elected to move from the box to the sideline. He talked about that a little bit, saying that they had some mic issues as far as the headset inside of Michael Penix's helmet. Said it went out like 8 or 9 times during the Charlotte game, which I'll take that. Just give me something to make it look better than that 30-0. But he came down to the sidelines, and then Ike Hilliard, our wide receiver coach, was terminated. Let's start there, bro. What do you feel about those two? Not even in before Washington. How did you feel about that?
So I want to take just a little step back in answering
Sure.
it. That Panthers game wasn't the first time where we had seen some issues communication wise, right? I texted you early on, I believe, in that Minnesota game, and I said we look unprepared for the noise, which is wild, right? Like, going into Minnesota is going to be loud. We had, delay games, had to call early timeouts, right? Like, it just looked like we were unprepared. Flash forward, some of the same issues occur in Carolina. And what we hear from the team, whether or not we'll know for sure it was really the problem, was that it was, a technical hardware communication issue that was leading to some of this stuff. I don't know why it only impacted the Falcons, but that's neither here nor there. I do think that Michael Penix being, for all intents and purposes, he's a rookie, right? Like, he may have been on the team, he may have practiced for a full season, but he only had 4 games starting last year. He's only started, 8 games in his career, so half of a season in total. So I do think that there is some things that can be beneficial about Zach Robinson moving to the field, being able to discuss things that he's seeing in real time, not having to rely on, technology, being in a timeout, or coming off the field. I do like that. I just hate the way that it went down. Like, oh yeah, this is going to be the end all be all that solves all of our offensive woes that we've seen leading up to the Washington game, where we had thrown 1 passing touchdown on the year and didn't score a single point against a division rival that we should own in the Panthers. So I do like the decision. I hate the way it took this embarrassment of a game in order to. It sounds more like the staff trying to do something to appease the fans, right? instead of it being a decision that was made internally for the betterment of the team. Because ultimately, I think it will be for the betterment of the team. The Ike Hilliard situation, to me, he's just a sacrifice. Like, someone's got to go.
Bye.
We drew names.
Scapegoat.
Your name came out. Sorry. Hate to see you go, but you got to go.
Yeah, no, I definitely think Ike was he was scapegoated, man. And what can we say now, right? Just kind of slowly transitioning to what happened in the Washington game. The offense looked a lot better. Was that a direct correlation of the move to the sideline and Ike Hilliard's firing? We can't say that it wasn't. They can't also say that definitively that it was. I don't think it was the fans. Maybe it was the fans that pressured ownership or management that then pushed that down. Like, hey, look, man, 30-0. Somebody got to go. We need a head. The people want blood. and Ike was sacrificed, to your point. Because he is the same wide receivers coach that had almost 2,000-yard receivers last year. Definitely would have had it without the injury to Darnell Mooney. He missed some games last year. And then I saw a clip of him today, man. He actually had a couple drops in that Carolina game. That's not Ike Hilliard's fault. He can't catch the ball for him, but he's still not right. Now he's hurt again. That's just a side note that just popped in my head. But
yeah, so at least what they said on the 929 the game, it's not paid advertisement. Give me my money. No, they were saying, and I don't take everything they say to be gospel, but when it comes from Mike Johnson, who played for the team, certain people that would have knowledge of the inner workings of a football team, I can at least take what they say to be meaningful. And I believe it was him who was saying that Ike's role on the offense, so coaches will be like divided for duties. And specifically, Ike was in charge of the red zone offense.
Oh.
Which we have struggled with mightily. So I think that is the one thing that you could point to as reason to let him go. But at the same time, I'm like, just give him different duties. Right? Like,
we didn't make it into the red zone.
No, not against Carolina, but we did against the Bucks and we did against Minnesota, and we struggled. Yeah. So it has been an issue, but to what I was saying, like, give him a different role in the offense. Like, to your point, is just someone had to go.
And when you line it up like that, if he's responsible for the red zone offense, it was not just the Panthers game. The Vikings game, we could not put up points. I think we scored a touchdown very late, our first offensive touchdown. And to that same effect, the Bucks.
It took us like 4 tries. We had to get bailed out by a penalty to get a fresh set of downs in the red zone to get to the play where Michael Penix does the Space Jam rubber arm, barely gets it over the goal line touchdown. Yeah, no, the red zone has been a problem.
And it's still not fixed, to be clear. We scored some touchdowns. Couple of them were from pretty far out, but we started the game off with 3 instead of 7, and we drove down the field on them. It looked like we were going to drive in easily.
Bijan's touchdown was in the red zone. What's his name? Kyle Pitts' touchdown was in the red zone, and the really bad.
Bijan's definitely was, but I think that's a fringe because it's like a 17-yard run. It is within the 20, so by technicality, it is red zone.
And so was Tyler Algiers, which that was all Tyler making a fantastic.
Tyler's was outside of it though. Maybe his was a 21-yard. Keep going though.
But either way, we were much more effective yesterday against Washington in the red zone. If that has anything to do with the release of Ike Hilliard, we'll never know. All we can go on going forward is how well we play consistently.
Yeah.
There were some clips, and I'm gonna transition on you a little bit. But after the Panthers game, some timely photography, camera work caught, Raheem smiling when greeting or dapping up some of the players and personnel from the Panthers, and it kind of made headlines and was tried to be made into a controversy. And Matt Ryan on a podcast with Zach Klein and Aaron Donald kind of touched on it. I want to get your thoughts on that, but also just talking about Raheem Morris in general. I heard a clip or saw a quote yesterday where he makes a comment that says, like, this Washington game was an apology for the 30-0 loss to the Panthers, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
I didn't hear that.
I understand what he's saying, but I'm like, all right, you're at home, you're playing against Marcus Mariota, you're playing against a team that doesn't have Scary Terry, right? Like, this is a game that you should win, in all honesty. You should win. And you didn't go, I mean, you dominated them, but you didn't beat them 30-0. So I hear your apology. I forgive you. But if you do it again, we're going to have some major problems.
I don't like it. And I'm gonna sound like a hater. Man, I wish we would have went with Harbaugh. and maybe this clip won't age well. Hopefully it doesn't, because that means Raheem has had success. But I remember Travis. I was talking to him, Harbaugh, about the coaches when we were, in the hunt, and he was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling Raheem, man. That was when Belichick was still in the fray as well. And I was like, nah, he's gonna do good. And I was like, I'm uncomfortable with the way I feel about him. Don't apologize to me, especially if you. Now, I agree with you. The score is not indicative of how dominant the performance was that we put on them, because we had 30 before we got to the fourth quarter, but we did let them get 27 points. Right? If you apologize, I don't want blowout for blowout. No, don't let off the gas, which is something we talked about at the game. They were it was it felt like the last two drives when they got into the red zone. They were trying to survive. What did you say? Say it like your words are perfect.
They weren't playing to win. They were playing not to lose. That was the problem we always saw with the Arthur Smith regime.
Yeah.
Is they didn't play to win. They played not to lose. And
that's incredibly frustrating. So if you're apologizing, you had the opportunity to really put your foot on their neck, and they let off the gas. They did, and that's a negative that I take out of that Washington game. They let off the gas for sure. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. But with Raheem, and it was a Fox clip, the clip that you were talking about, where he's smiling and dapping people up. Outside looking in, I'm mad. Like, what? Ain't no friends after you lose by 30. But, it was somebody, Matt Ryan spelled it out. It was somebody that he's known for, 16. He was on Matt Ryan's staff for, I think Matty said 12 years. And he's been out the league out of Atlanta for 4 years. So it's somebody he's known professionally, like 16 plus years. And I get you greet him. But happy-go-lucky, that was a little much, right? he didn't. It felt like he didn't feel none of that. Still, and then Aaron Donald seconded, right? But they know him personally. I don't know Raheem Morris personally, and I judge people. I'm not judging him. Yeah, I am. I don't like that he was smiling so big after losing 30-0. Right? But they know his character. They know that he's going to come out and be on fire that next game and make improvements and adjustments. So, I mean, they know him. I don't. I'm gonna take their word for it. But in the moment, that was a Fox clip. That was something they showed. Like, oh, damn, look at Raheem down there hugging and kissing on these Carolina players that just thumped their neck. It didn't sit right with me after seeing it. It made sense what they were saying, but I, still a little bitter.
Yeah, I definitely feel where you're coming from, and like I'm not judging the man's character, but I'm definitely judging his performance. And so far, his performance as head coach has left some things to be desired. So we just need to see winning. Winning cures all, right? It feels good getting that win. Don't apologize to me. That's patronizing. You brought up the whole offensive scheme, the use of the pistol formation, and that was the talk of the town after the Carolina game. A lot of national media personnel that played the game talked about how predictable it is, how we don't have any semblance of a play action scheme and this and that, and that was the primary blame being placed on the offensive woes. And Raw got in press conference and defended it, right? And so he is unapologetically himself, and like that is an endearing quality. But as a fan, it's also very frustrating when all we want are results, and you're not giving me the results, and then you're blowing smoke at me, or you're hearing what I'm saying, but you're not doing anything about it, or you're not going to do anything about it. And that's, I think, where my frustration was with hearing, the radio personnel and everyone talk about, the pistol. Is like, we know we're not going to change it because he's stubborn. So let's not waste our breath talking about it, for 5 days straight, right? Let's talk about it on a Monday and let's let it go, and we'll see what the results are on Sunday. Because at the end of the day, if we don't get the results, his butt is grass, and he's out of here.
Yeah, and we got the result we wanted on Sunday, and I'm still dissatisfied with how much we ran that pistol. We were sitting there watching and predicting plays, as they were happening. It just so happens that we have a very high class, high talent personnel group, right? We talked about during the offseason when you got a Bijan Robinson, and then when he's tired, you can put in a Tyler Algier, right? You have a Drake London. Kudos to Kyle Pitts. I'll say it publicly. Brother, you look a lot better this year. I see the effort, man. It looked like you're hungry, man, and I'm happy to see it. That's congratulations. I want you to stick on it, man. I'm a fan. Let's stick with it.
He's playing with passion.
Yeah, just some effort.
It's not just the effort. Like, he makes a big catch to extend the drive. He's popping up and he's giving the first down. When he caught that touchdown, he spiked that ball and like got excited and released emotion. And that's something we haven't really seen from him. He's just been kind of lackadaisical out there, looking like he's not having fun, looking like he doesn't want to be there. And so it's nice to see him getting involved and him being a difference maker, but also just showing some emotion and some passion for the game of football.
I think your 1A is my 1B, and my 1A is your 1B, and that's why we came at that as we did, which it equates to a single one, right? My biggest critique of him is like he don't look like he's running hard enough. You're not trying to catch the ball, and I think you critiqued him on that as well. But but you were like, it don't even look like he wants to be out there. Where's your passion? Where's your emotion? And he's corrected both of those. So shout out to Kyle Pitts, man. We want a lot of more success out of you this season, brother. But that said, the play calling, I don't think it changed.
It didn't, and I didn't expect it to. And that was my point, because
I kind of did. You didn't expect, the percentage of the pistol to go down.
no, not at all. Because
If anything, I feel like it went up.
I think, I don't want to say this in an offensive way, but I don't know any other way to say it. I think there's a level of arrogance in being a head coach in the NFL when you hear
Well, this is
reporters.
Z-Rock. He's being enabled. But
when you hear reporters or fans voice their opinions, I feel like there's this general thought, well, if you were so good at it, or if you knew what was right, you'd be out here doing it. And for that reason, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't care what you have to say. I'm going to do it my way. I'm the professional. I'm the expert. Y'all just sit down and watch me do my thing.
Yeah.
And I think that, if anything, there's a propensity to want to prove yourself right. So instead of changing, you just dig deeper. And, oh, well, you don't like the pistol. Well, we're going to run it 95% of the time, and I'll show you.
And it worked. Which is crazy, right? Because it was really successful in Minnesota with the run. And maybe that's a product of who you're playing, the personnel on the other side of the line. But this one, Michael Penix threw for 300 yards, right? We did break 100, and we had some, but they took some gashes. Like the all Tyler played, the all Bijan played. Those were 30 yards right there out of 125 or something. We picked up some garbage time rush yards because we had given up on scoring and dominating them like we should have. But yeah, it was successful. So it's kind of frustrating because it's around. It's around forever, and until they are no longer here. And I'm not wishing that, right? But man, it'd be nice to see an I formation every once in a while, especially in a short yardage situation.
I heard a couple weeks ago it was Mike Johnson again, just saying how he's been begging to see a pulling guard for the last 4 years, and we finally did it on one play, and he was just so happy. So it's kind of the same.
He's talked about it so much that I heard that segment that he called him out.
Yeah, that Arch called it out on the call.
David Archer called it out on the broadcast.
That's funny. Before I get your feelings, I told you I was gonna kind of surprise you with a rumor that I want your take on. And I think I know where you're going to go with this, but this past week, Mike Gundy was fired. Couldn't tell you the last time. I believe it's Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
That Mike Gundy wasn't the head coach of Oklahoma State, right? Like, he'd been there for at least the last 14 years. And
I'm 40. That's him,
right? I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid.
I'm 40.
Yeah, that's Mike Gundy.
20 years, 2005 to 2025.
Okay, so he was there for 20 years. So he gets canned. They're having a very bad season. One of the most successful quarterbacks to play under Mike Gundy was Zach Robinson. So the rumor mill is Zach is on the very short list of potential head coaches to replace Mike Gundy.
What's your question?
How you feel about that?
I mean, I think a mid-season coaching change is less than ideal for Michael Penix and the Falcons offense, even though I have a certain opinion about the pistol. When it works very well. It's worked for the rush, it's worked for the pass. We just talked about that. I would hate to have to start over with somebody mid-season. Now, at the end of the season, hey, Oklahoma State's calling. Pick up the phone, my friend. I really want a more experienced. I think the Jeff Ulbrich upgrade has been huge and evident in the play. Right, there's some teams that have put up some points, but they have not been putting up yards. We talked about that at the game. In the mid game, they dropped the stats that the Falcons had allowed the second least amount of yards per game in the NFL. I would love, oh man, if we could elevate our offensive coordinator role in that regard, like somebody who was a head coach that's fired, but is a great schemer. I want to do it. And on that accord, Z-Rod will be free to go wherever he likes during the off season. But I think this season, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't be a fan.
I don't. I didn't read what the timeline was on their hiring. I don't think it would be mid-season. I'm 100% in an agreement with you on pretty much everything you said. I thought your response would be more immediately take them.
Good riddance.
Yeah, have them.
Nah.
But I hold a little bit of reserve, and you and I have had conversations before, so this won't surprise you. But I think continuity is important. I think continuity and consistency in staff is important. But I'm with you. Like, if you can find someone more experienced, more proven to fill that shoe, then sure. But if you're just gonna throw another up and comer in that position, I'd rather have the consistency of Zach Robinson being in Michael Penix's ear than some new person with unproven track record as a coordinator in this league.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I want somebody who's dialing it back. Right? They have more responsibility. Now they're gonna have a little less and be able to zone in and take over the world. Not necessarily Mike McDaniels, but a situation like his, because I don't think the way the Dolphins are playing. Sorry, sir. He's probably done after this year.
Yeah. So we're going into the bye this week, which I think is actually a good thing for us with some of the injuries that we have, but also later on in the season, it could come back to bite us having the bye this early. But as it stands right now, I think it's a pretty decent time, especially going into a big Monday night home game or prime time home game against the Buffalo Bills in 2 weeks. So I just kind of want a brief how do you feel going into the bye? How do you feel going into Buffalo? I will just recap our predictions without any weekly prediction changes. So far, I'm 2-2. I incorrectly predicted both the Carolina and Washington game. I had those reversed. You are 3-1 on your original prediction, just missing the Bucks game. We both are predicting or previously predicted losses to the Buffalo Bills.
So I want to save a lot of that Buffalo talk from when we have our special guest on. As far as the bye is concerned, I think it is a good timing. I don't know who the next receiver. I know their names. I don't know if we have a real number 2 behind Drake London with Darnell Mooney out, and he just had another hamstring injury. So the more time he has to recover and get right, I think the better for us. I want to replace the second half of your question about the Bills because there's something that you said. And I figure we can pivot to it. Drake London, not a true number 1 to you.
I think he's
Why?
more of a possession receiver. When I think of, and there is a small sample size, at least from yesterday's game, that goes against what I'm about to say. So just know I understand the slight contradiction. But when I think of number one, I think of a guy that's going to take the top off the defense, right? Someone who's going to catch 30, 40, 50-yard bombs, right? Has the ability to do everything else, but has that piece in their game. And I don't necessarily see that from Drake London. I see him as a big-bodied receiver, good at, quick slants, good at getting up, going for the ball, making contested catches, basketball player, good red zone, possession receiver. Now, he did have one yesterday where he took Washington's defender, got behind him, and made a big downfield catch. But we haven't seen much of that in his career. And so that's where my hesitation is to call him a true number one, where we had that with Darnell Mooney last year.
Somebody take the top off?
Yeah.
I say Drake is a number one, multiple reasons. Talent-wise, I think he's a number one, right? But his touchdowns specifically put him in the number one, more than possessions, right? I think your number one receiver has to score touchdowns, and he does that at volume. He had 9 last year. He only has 1 so far this year, but I'm sure he'll catch up to where he was last year. His production is there. 1,000-yard receiver, 8+ touchdowns, making the tough catches, reliable. Like if you throw in the ball to Drake, he's gonna catch it, and that's what I think makes him a number one.
Most of the time.
90%, 95.
He's had a rough couple weeks, but I think that's because he hasn't been fully healthy. He did play well yesterday. I don't think he played too well in Carolina, and he had a rough night in Minnesota.
Well, Michael Penix had a rough time in Carolina. And Minnesota, remember, we both agreed that, to your first point, he was hurt.
Yeah.
Drake, to me, Drake is a very good number one. He's probably top. There's a lot of good receivers in the league, so I would say top 15 receiver in the league, maybe like a 12-ish. I don't know that he's cracked the top 10 yet. Maybe, though. There's some people that are slipping, whether it's their fault or not. Sorry, Tyreek. No, he's still top 10.
All righty. Well, I guess we'll reserve the Buffalo conversation to next week. So why don't we hop into some elevators?
From the parking garage to the penthouse, no one takes you on more highs and lows than Atlanta sports. Let's me, you, your mama, and your cousin too get on this elevator. Don't touch the button. We got you locked in.
Elevators, the highs and lows, huh?
Highs and lows of the last 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You can do up to 2. You're only required 1, but you can give 2 if you want to.
It's probably a high and low. So let me go, then you go, and let me think. Because there's one I already have, like on my brain. And it floats, right? The Braves 10-game win streak. Is that on your list?
No.
Okay, so the Braves 10-game win streak, obviously a high. We won double-digit games consecutively. That is a great feat, and that is a high. And we closed the season out on a kind of a high. We went on to lose 3 or 4. But to win 10 games in a row shows that they did have some fight left.
We lost 160, or we won game 162. So we ended on a win.
We ended on a win. We lost 3 games before that to like the Pirates.
Yeah, pretty bad.
So that is my high. I saw home runs out of Ronnie, which is encouraging. I haven't seen him at the end of. I feel like I haven't seen him at the end of the season in years, but he was there. And he was hitting home runs to the last at bat, or his first last at bat. And then Drake Baldwin looked really good. Man, he's gonna be fire. I don't know that he gets Rookie of the Year. I definitely think he should be in all those conversations. There was another player, I think they played for Milwaukee, who, right now their World Series odds are near the top. So he might not get the jury, but he deserves it. I like Drake Baldwin. I like what the future has for us there. And then why? So Mark, why would 10 games in a row be a low? Well, I think Schnitt. There was a segment on the radio. I don't remember who it was. I actually I do. It was the other Bo, not Bo Morgan. The other Bo said he had heard that Snit said he had unfinished business.
He's not under contract.
Well, I personally want Snit's business to be finished with the Braves. So that is a low for me. They finished. They looked great the last 14 games. That does not negate the rest of the season, right? We were not supposed to be in the bottom of the barrel. We're the Atlanta Braves. We're always supposed to be in the playoffs and pushing for a chip.
Yeah.
We were miles away from that this year. We didn't look a whole lot better last year closing. I know we had a ton of injuries towards the end of the year, but throughout this year, I just didn't see, a whole lot of life. Schnitt looked like Kyle Pitts from last year. And not a lot of emotion, not a lot of life, not a lot of effort. And I would like for him to retire. And I may not get what I wish. So that's why it's a low for me.
So I also have a high of the Braves, but for a much different reason. The high is it's over. Good riddance.
Yeah, that's a good one. Close that book.
162 games, 2025. Clock it. It's over. We're done. We don't have to worry about that painful season ever again. So that is a high. For me, the low is 30-0, bro. Like, that's embarrassing. It's disrespectful. It's disgusting. I'm walking to my car yesterday afternoon, and some Washington fans were chirping with some Falcons fans, and it was a young kid, in his feels about losing. So he was kind of lashing out, but he was saying, "Talk to me when you score against the Panthers."
That's cold as ice.
And I'm
man.
like, we just took y'all to the woodshed, so I don't want to hear it. But still, it stung. And not on top of that, you pointed this out to me, but we're sitting in our seats, right? Getting ready. The game's already started. And two young ladies, in the same row need to scoot by. One of them has the audacity to be wearing a Carolina Panthers jersey. I didn't make the connection at the time, but it was Chuba Hubbard, number 30.
Oh.
So we had to be reminded of the misery that was that game. In a game that we were up and winning. It's not as bad as the Super Bowl and the 28-3 nonsense, but the recency of it, it still stung. Is an embarrassing loss, right? An embarrassing situation for the franchise. So that was my low. And then coming into this week, the high is getting right. Washington, getting the dub against Washington. They were down some key people. It doesn't matter. I said it about Georgia Tech earlier in the podcast. a W in the win columns. All that matters. Winning will cure all the pain and suffering and negative feelings and emotions will be remedied if we just continue to win, if we make the playoffs and we make a splash, right? So yesterday, going to the game, getting to be in the bins, getting to watch it happen. Now, I think I'm undefeated in games I've joined you at the Mercedes Benz, and that extends even into college football. But yeah, so that was
Oh
my
yeah,
high for
yeah.
this week, and then my low is the Dogs just losing to Alabama again. And all I can say is, like, I'm just tired of losing to Alabama. Just point blank,
Yeah.
just tired of losing to Alabama.
And there, so I don't remember where I was, but Matt, oh, we went down to the Battery at some point recently, and Matt was talking to Carlos because Carlos, especially college football, he trends. He is himself, right?
Yeah.
The biggest opponent or rival of Georgia at the time, he's gonna pull for him. And Matt
Hater.
was like, "Yeah, of course." Matt was like, "Nah, it's over for Bama. They done." And it looked like he was right. And then they win at Sanford Stadium on a night game because his record in night games is pretty one sided as well.
He was undefeated at
He's,
home.
yeah,
I think the win streak was up to 32 32 games at home. 32 and
mm,
0 at home. I mean, they had lost previously, but they had rattled off 32 straight home victories.
yeah.
And all that came to an end at the hands of Bama. So yeah, it sucks. College home field advantage is so important, and then you add in the night factor because the crowd is extra rowdy and pumped up, and so for us to have that advantage going into the game and still lose, it hurts.
I was looking at the crowd. It was Bama was represented for sure.
Yeah,
So they took some of that home field away.
it was loud.
Yeah, yeah, it was loud. Washington, I didn't. It makes sense now, right? They're one of the older franchises in the league, so they have some true fans. But they've been trash. I didn't think they were going to travel like that. I think the 30-0 rubbed some people the wrong way. Like my usual season ticket neighbors to the left, they sold. The guys, the row in front of us, that those for first four like six seats, they always sell. And but the it's a couple that sits in front of them, and then two seats over for them. All six of them were not there. They're like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna sell them. And Washington, by and large, bought the resale tickets because they were super loud in there.
They were the whole row behind us was pretty much Washington fans, except for the move the
Boo the
chain,
chains, boo
move the
the
chain.
chains,
Yeah,
boo the
yeah.
chains, boo. We got it, man. We got to have her on at some point.
That'd be
Like a
fun.
super fan,
Yeah.
sitting row 14, seat 23, 24. We know who you are.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
So did you have another high and low for this week in particular, or just the Braves are your high and low for the 2 weeks?
I think the Braves are my. I mean, obviously a win this week is a high, but you reminded me that the torture isn't quite over for the city with 3 games remaining for the Atlanta United.
Mm,
So I've completely stopped watching them. I stopped watching the Braves. I didn't know they were on a win streak until it was like 5 games, 6 games in.
bro, I paid for the MLS package. I think I've watched like 2.5 games. I was just sunk $100.
You gonna do it again, right?
No. I told myself going in I never would because protesting Apple, but they suckered me in with the purchases of Miguel Almiron, who's my favorite player all time for the Five Stripes, and then Lottie Loth. Had high hopes, and they just disappointed. Nothing but disappointment. So I've tuned them out.
Statistically, those two specifically.
I don't know. I know they've been decent, but it's not good enough. Man, we are surpassed our 60-minute target.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we can go ahead and wrap it up. If you made it this far, we appreciate you. Hit that like, subscribe, leave us a comment. What do you think about the Falcons and where we are at going into the bye? I want to hear from you. Anything. Just let us know how you're feeling. Give us a feeling of your overall temperature on the season thus far. Give us a high and low for yourself. We just love to hear from you. With that being said, we'll see you on another one.
One more. I would actually like to hear their thoughts on the Bills game, and we can chop it up with a Bills fan. Let us know what y'all think about the Falcons, how the Falcons will look against their first elite test.
And that's true. We're going to have a Bills fan in here next week. So if you have any questions for a Bills fan, like how does it feel to lose 4 Super Bowls? Yeah, we'd like to ask those. We'll ask your questions. We'll put him on the hot seat and see how he does.
Hell yeah. Be ready, Demo.
We coming for you.
On the flip,
Peace.
Peace.